Good evening to the fans of Twin Peaks and David Lynch. Welcome to the debut episode of Wow, Lynch, Wow, dedicated to the filmmaker and artist David Lynch and inspired by the most improbable, long-awaited, and triumphant return in TV history. Of course, I'm talking about Twin Peaks. Thankfully for us fans, that gum we all love so much is finally back in style. I was in my mid-teens when Twin Peaks originally aired, but it wasn't until several years later when I was a junior in college that my personal journey into the world of Twin Peaks began. I remember watching old VHS copies of the then-complete series night after night in a week-long marathon adventure. Such mystery, so much intrigue, captivating characters, a brilliant blend of light and shade. Simply put, a TV masterpiece. Several friends and myself would watch one episode after another, making bogus claims that we would just watch one more, until the episode's inevitable cliffhanger drew us deeper and deeper into this unusual and captivating world. Racing as fast as we could to find out what happened next, we were horrified by the way things ended. The series was over, and the prequel film did little to solve most of the remaining riddles. This couldn't possibly be the end, could it? But of course it was. By this point in time, Twin Peaks had already been off the air for 5 years. It was such a wonderful and enjoyable journey, and such a disappointingly premature ending. Die-hard fans wanted more, whether they were on board from the very beginning, or whether they picked it up somewhere else along the way. On Netflix, on DVD, or in my case, a good old-fashioned VCR. Because despite the fact Twin Peaks had been long removed from television, it continued gaining new generations of fans who fell in love with this Lynch Frost creation, the same as so many before them. For 20-plus years, I always fantasized and imagined what a season 3 of Twin Peaks may have been like. So many possibilities. So many unanswered questions. So much mystery still surrounding this seemingly now extinct town. In all that time I spent wondering about what might have been, it became more and more of a remote fantasy. And the years kept passing, and they kept passing, and still I would wonder. Until recent years, sometimes I'd find myself deeply bewildered by the utter fascination when contemplating the wonderful world of Twin Peaks. This past weekend, in the hours leading up to the launch of the premiere, I couldn't believe it. Was this really happening? Could this really be happening? Were we really getting 18 new hours of material from the great David Lynch? And not just any old 18 hours, which in itself would have been welcome news. But it just so happened that these 18 hours would be a return to the land we loved in Twin Peaks. Too good to be true. The hours leading up to the prized moment seemed more surreal to me than anything David Lynch had ever previously directed. Twin Peaks was coming back. So naturally, after waiting 20-plus years and getting 4 new hours all at once after all this time, there was no way in hell I wasn't going to do everything in my power to watch those 4 episodes as soon as I could. And the experience, ladies and gentlemen, was nothing short of staggering for me. But waiting all those years and then being bombarded with 4 new hours of material was quite the taxing endeavor, which left many an adoring fan in a Lynchian hangover of sorts. It was difficult to process so much new material all in one sitting, but it was well worth the wait. Bravo, Mr. Lynch. Bravo, Mr. Frost. Bravo to all of the returning and new cast members, And bravo to Showtime for giving Lynch what he needed to finally make this a reality. Think about it this way. Game of Thrones is currently a powerhouse series on HBO, based on the books of Martin. 5 years ago, who could have possibly imagined that David Lynch would finish a third season of Twin Peaks before Martin had finished writing Game of Thrones? Incredible. At this point, if you haven't seen all 4 episodes at this time, I strongly suggest you stop the video until you do, as we have potential spoilers starting momentarily, and I would absolutely hate to ruin anything for anyone who isn't all caught up. So viewers, be warned. So things began with our beloved hero, Federal Bureau of Investigation Special Agent Dale Cooper. And Denise is correct. That really is fun to say. So good Coop is still stuck in the Black Lodge, and bad Coop is on the prowl, running rampant and doing the evil things that he does. It starts with the clip that always fascinated me more than any other clip from the original run, which was Laura and Cooper seated in the Black Lodge, Laura telling him she'll see him again in 25 years, and then she assumes her trademark meanwhile posture. And then later we finally got to see them together, again, there in the same place, in the Black Lodge, and the moments beyond that. I thought Lynch opened things up perfectly, and I thought the new opening credits were good too. Love the music, enjoy the new overhead waterfall shot, but I confess that I do miss seeing the sign in the opening. So the driving force behind these first 4 episodes was good Coop's journey, and I love Lynch's appreciation for this aspect of storytelling. Basically, as I understand it, good Coop was set to leave the lodge and switch with bad Coop. But something went wrong, seemingly as a result of actions taken by the Eraserhead baby tree doppelganger and or bad Coop. Somehow, good Coop was bamboozled, and he instead switches places with a third Cooper, or rather a Coop look-alike named Dougie. Bad Coop vomits up something that appears to be Garmonbozia, and meanwhile, Dougie appears to have been eliminated inside the lodge, leaving behind nothing but a mysterious gold pearl. Something about the gold pearl and the Garmonbozia that was puked up by both Bad Coop and real-world Dougie seems to perhaps be having an impact on good Coop's faculties and memories. Or maybe good Coop is just taking time to adjust to being reborn. Whatever it is, something ain't right in good Coop's head. But what good Coop lacks in processing power, he more than makes up for with luck. So far, his good fortunes have started when he dropped the Great Northern Keys, just as they hit the speed bump, causing good Coop to bend low, which sabotaged a would-be assassin's efforts. And then, of course, he had the incredible hot streak at the casino. Is it a divine hand guiding him? Or is it some kind of trade-off for his lack of lingual memory? Whatever it is, good Coop has the sight. Maybe something with the eyeless woman, perhaps. So now good Coop has a couple of assassins chasing him, thinking he's really this Dougie guy. We also have bad Coop quarantined, presumably looking to escape, possibly to extract information from Cole, and ultimately we assume to go on to kill and destroy good Coop. Meanwhile, the thrown-up pain and suffering is toxic to anyone who comes in contact with it, and Mike reveals the gold pearl to a confused good Coop, and then Mike quickly pockets it. And then we have the fact that good Coop also seemed to inadvertently release some type of evil into the world with regards to the mysterious glass box. Anyway, wherever the journey goes, I'm fairly certain that good Coop and bad Coop are headed for a showdown, and that one way or another, good Coop will need to defeat bad Coop in order to move on to the next challenge, which I'm imagining that next challenge will ultimately be far more daunting a task than the already tall order he faces in Bad Coop. Good Coop's brilliant journey ends with 3 firsts in what was personally my absolute favorite sequence from the first 4 episodes. He urinated for the first time in 25 years. He took a bite of food for the first time in 25 years. And he had his first sip of coffee in 25 years out of Dougie's sippy mug. This sequence was a masterstroke of genius. Watching Sonny Jim guide Cooper into his chair and then into his breakfast ritual, that was vintage Lynch. Meanwhile, we have Naomi Watts cooking up a storm in the background, the huge contagious smile on Sonny Jim's face, and of course, we had Cooper's reaction upon hearing the word coffee, which seems to indicate to me that some of his memories are locked there in his head somewhere. I thought Naomi Watts was excellent, as well as many of the other cast members, and I'm thrilled she's involved, as I was really disappointed that Mulholland Drive never came to be. And she was fantastic in that too, and I think had that gotten the green light, I think that would have been a fantastic show in its own right. And Sonny Jim is my favorite new character thus far, based on the power of that one scene alone. Sorry, Wally Brando, and apologies to the divisive character's fan base. I did like the scene myself, but the most interesting aspect of Wally to me, it's Andy and Lucy's reactions to Wally. Not just in that scene where they're all together, but whenever Wally was mentioned, I really thought those parts were great. And I especially enjoyed when they were complaining that Cooper never sent them a card. Moving on, one thing I'm especially interested in finding out as a fan is seeing whatever became of Annie's message to Laura from Fire Walk With Me. Annie appeared to Laura and informed her that Good Coop was trapped in the Black Lodge, and Annie told Laura to write that down in her diary. This is something pretty random that made the final cut of the movie, and I'm inclined to believe Lynch put that there for a reason. I mean, there's always the possibility that the pages were stolen by Leland or that they suffered some other ill fate. But this was a deliberate move by Lynch to keep that scene in Fire Walk With Me. So I believe it has to be something that resurfaces again at some point or another in the story. I'm wondering if this could possibly be the thing that's missing. The thing that the log lady warned Hawk about. Could this be the missing thing? I'm not sure. And I have no idea how any of this might tie in and be related to Hawk's heritage. But even if this isn't the thing that the log lady warned him about, I still definitely believe this diary entry will fit in sooner or later, somehow and in some way. Seeing Catherine Coulson reprising her role as the log lady was a touching moment for many fans. It was both sad and inspiring at the same time, knowing she was very sick and that her scenes were filmed even before the official announcement of the return. Similar sentiments from Miguel Ferrer, who played Albert and passed away shortly after filming. As a fan, it was nice to see them reprise their respective roles, and I wish they could have gotten the chance to be around to see the final product. So the last thing I wanted to mention today was on the mystery woman referenced at the end of episode 4. Cole and Albert are discussing a woman who can address their suspicions about Bad Coop. Cole asks Albert if he knows where she lives still, and Albert informs Cole that he knows where she drinks. So who is this mystery woman? My initial guess watching this scene for the first time, I thought it was Ronette Pulaski. She can identify who Bob is. She has a familiarity with the world where she can identify things that are otherworldly with her senses. And Albert was involved in several instances surrounding Ronette in the first run. It's a Blue Rose project, so Gordon Cole definitely knows something about Ronette, and they've used her to identify things previously. The actress already appeared as another character in a room with Good Coop, but that doesn't mean that Ronette won't resurface. Most people I've seen have speculated that it will wind up being Diane, and that the mystery woman is literally the mystery woman of the series. This is a possibility, and a lot of people are suspecting Laura Dern for the part. Part of me likes the idea of keeping Diane behind the curtain. There's a lot of intrigue and mystery there. But then again, getting Diane's unique perspectives on Cooper, this is something that could manifest itself into infinite mysteries in its own right. So this could be a very interesting angle if these people are right and it does turn out to be Diane. Others have suggested it might be Annie. We still don't know exactly what happened to Annie, and although I believe it was reported that Heather Graham wasn't involved at all in the project, I wouldn't put it past Lynch to keep something like this a secret necessarily. Other predictions I've seen have included both Sarah Palmer and Audrey Horne, and I suppose each of them could make sense for different reasons, although I think Sarah Palmer would be the more likely of those two. Who will the mystery woman be? I have no idea. Whoever it is, I can't wait to find out. So that's all I got. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please share your thoughts and theories in the comments section. There's still tons of questions from the first 4 episodes, and I'll try my best to touch on a few more of those during the agonizing wait for episode 5. I gotta run now. I hear the Morgans are coming for dinner, and I sure hope we get to see some engaging dinner table conversations from those lovable Morgans. And I hope we see that sometime soon. Thank you for watching, and have a good night, everyone.